Tonight, interesting topic.
Yeah, whistleblowers. So what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Well, we got a great guest who's going to tell us all about it. But no, sometimes businesses or business owners can't help the allure of making more money and not doing it the right way.
Yes.
And, sometimes they break some laws, and
Yes.
it actually happens.
Yes.
A lot of times it happens when they actually have governmental contracts.
Yes.
And so they're not only breaking the law, they're breaking the law as it pertains to stealing from the government, is what it amounts to.
Which is nothing to play with.
No.
At all.
So there's actually a civil action out there designed to protect the government.
Yes.
Okay, from this type of abuse,
Yes.
stealing from the government. And how do you learn about these things? Well, usually it's somebody on the inside, an employee who says, this ain't right, and we're going to call you out on it.
Absolutely.
Then, of course, there's a question of, is that person going to get in trouble? Does that person get compensated? So I'm not going to answer those questions because I'm not going to spoil it for everybody.
But we have the perfect person to answer that.
That's right.
Yes.
Don McKenna, dear friend of mine. We've been working together for 20 plus years. Joined our firm recently, so now I can call him my law partner. He's on tonight to talk about this very specialized area of law, and been practicing in this world, this key tam world is what it's called.
Correct.
For a very long time now.
25 years now.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So definitely the perfect person here to talk about this tonight. Don, welcome to the show for sure.
Thank you,
and glad
Melanie.
to have you here, absolutely. Tell us a little bit more just about your background and your experience in this area.
So I got involved as a young lawyer in a very significant case against 18 major oil companies. So imagine a small consortium of law firms taking on 18 oil companies and their hundreds of lawyers for underpaying oil royalties on oil pumped out of federal lands. So there's a lot of land that the federal government owns that oil companies are allowed to extract oil from, and they pay a royalty, like a tax, for every barrel they take out. Well, they were undervaluing the oil to pay lower amounts to the federal government, basically paying less taxes than they would have to, and we recovered $437 million for the federal government in that case, and that sort of launched the career on a high note to get going then. And
So that was the bug
that was the
bit you-
bug, yes, for sure, for sure.
Wow.
So what kind of cases have you seen over the years? Because when we talk about this, I'm always fascinated about, wait a minute, they did that?
They did that, right? And, it's been around forever.
Right.
Benjamin Franklin is quoted as saying, there is no sort of crime that people move into more easily or more frequently fall than that of defrauding the government. So, the people who were there at the beginning of this country knew folks were going to steal from the government. And another famous figure in American history was the one that wrote the law to combat it. Abraham Lincoln wrote the False Claims Act. Lincoln, being a lawyer during the Civil War, the Union Army was getting crates of empty munitions, broken down mules sold as war horses. So Lincoln knew to enlist the public as attorneys general to come forward with knowledge of fraud in the government and be rewarded as whistleblowers for bringing that information forward. So that was the original False Claims Act in the United States, and it's since been amended multiple times. It was primarily a defense contractor fraud statute until the 1990s, and it still does defense contracting fraud and really any kind of fraud where the federal government spends money, but it's become primarily a healthcare fraud statute. 60% of the cases are healthcare fraud. The estimate per year that is lost, and it's not I don't say the government's money, it's our money, it's everybody's money, it's the taxpayers pay the government.
Yes.
So when this money's stolen, they're stealing all of our money that we've paid in taxes. Reuters estimates $200 billion a year in Medicare fraud. 60 Minutes said it's about $100 billion. So somewhere between 100 and 200 billion of Medicare fraud a year. And it runs the gamut from, we had a case here in Alabama against one of our local primary care physician providers, American Family Care, years ago. And when you go see a doctor, you're charged on the level of the visit. How much time did the doctor spend with you? 5 minutes and a quick exam to give you a refill on a prescription? That's a level 1 visit. Up to maybe 45 minutes and a complex diagnosis, that's a level 5, and they get paid different amounts based on the complexity of the visit. Well, our whistleblower client, who was a coder for American Family Care, had inside information. They were upcoding, meaning changing the level of visits to higher amounts to get paid more money than was justified by what was actually done. The government investigated. Once the whistleblower gave the government the information, recovered millions against American Family Care, and the whistleblower got a reward out of that. So it's anything you can think of in healthcare, from billing for services that were never provided to billing for more services than were provided. For you got 2 Advil at the hospital and they billed you for a whole bottle, and they've done that systemically to every patient who's come in the hospital. It's just amazing that if a government spends money in a way, somebody's stealing money in that way.
For a loophole. Well, I mean, you have done just a really great example.